we are going to move into our last input type, which is files. And I think files are the coolest input type with SidePC and really opens up quite a few options. So in order to do that, we're going to head over to our editor again, and we will create a test application. And I'm going to change this up. Normally we would say, tell me a joke about a cat. We're going to change it up a little bit since we're using files. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, tell me about the contents of this file. Okay, great. And then what we're going to do is we'll actually just add the file type. Okay, so we'll say we're going to actually upload, we're going to add the SidePC programming guide. So we will call this the programming guide. Okay, our next property is where we will add the type, which is a file. And the third input parameter, this is where we can actually define the types of files that it can expect. So if we want to limit what type of files can be uploaded or added, that's where we do it. And we know, I know that this is going to be a PDF, so I'm just going to define it as a PDF. And we'll actually limit it just to that. We'll actually do 2 here. Okay, so that is our first input. We haven't made it required or anything. If I wanted to make a file attachment required, we can add a star in front of the input type, or I'm sorry, the label. But I'm not going to do that. We'll add a second input so I can show you the meta properties of the file upload, and this is where I think it gets very powerful. But we're going to do the same thing. So I'm going to call this the programming guide 2, just for simplicity. And again, this is going to be a file. I know it's going to be a PDF. And the meta property for this input type is actually a URL. Okay, so again, we can find that if we actually hover on this and scroll down. You'll see that where's my file? There we go, our autoload file down here. You'll see that the meta property is actually a URL. Okay, so how this is going to work is we're going to just input the URL of our file. I just copied and pasted it real quick in there. That's why it just popped up. But that's the URL for our programming guide. And you'll see how this works in a second. Okay, again, I'm going to pick an icon. We'll save our applet. Got saved to the bottom, and we'll come back to our front end. Okay, so there's my applet. So let's execute this and then talk through what we actually see. Okay, so we execute it. And what you'll actually see here, so it says, tell me the content of this file. We've got programming guide and programming guide 2. And what you'll see is the programming guide has a normal file selector, which tells me what accepted formats there are. And I can click on that and select any files I care to. Now you'll see for programming guide 2, where I use the meta property to load it in from URL, it's actually already loaded that file and it's ready to go. So what that means, when I click process, this file is automatically going to load in. I don't have to think about where it is, how to find it, anything like that. It automatically loads that file in with my prompt execution. Now the one thing to remember here is for services like ChatGPT or Gemini, they only allow file uploads if you're logged in. So you'll need to be logged in for this to happen automatically. But once you are, it happens kind of seamlessly. I think the other thing to note is you can have multiple files that automatically upload. So not just one, you can have 2, 3, 4. I think some of the services allow up to 10 now, so you can stack files. And really all you end up having to do is wait a little bit of time for them to load in, but they will load and everything will execute automatically. So I'm going to process this, and you'll see what happens is that file automatically loaded in, and the prompt executes, and now it'll take a look at the file just like it normally does and tell me about that file. So nothing too crazy here, right? We could have added a file typed that prompt in, but this makes it so I don't even need to think or worry or remember where anything's stored. It happens automatically. So again, that's the file type, and I think if you've watched the videos up to this point, now you should have seen all of the input types that you can use with SidePC.